So we got the current model Banshee Rune here. It's this is a large, so I usually ride mediums. Larges on the manufacturers that bring out their bikes a little undersized, but this is definitely a large. So it's a 455 reach. He's got 800 bars on it, 50mm stem. So for me, I'd prefer a 40mm stem on this bike now that I've ridden it, and definitely the narrower bars. I'd definitely go 760, much easier to control for my size. I rode it last night at Moriata. Just quickly, I got a couple of quick runs in just to kind of feel it out and see what I had to, and give me something to think about overnight before today. So I had it too stiff, didn't really get a good feel for it, but it felt great anyway. I've set it up at 30% sag in the rear, reasonably fast low speed rebound. The rest of the settings I've kind of just left fairly open, so low speed compression's only like 1 or 2 clicks. High speed compression's barely a quarter of a turn in from open. High speed rebound is a full turn from closed, so it's got 3 full turns, 4 full turns, sorry, and I'm a full turn from closed, so fairly slow on the high speed rebound. I'm riding at Horslum's Gully today, so rough, fast, and you know, kind of proper downhill track. It's a good downhill track to test bikes on. Apart from the fact that it's too long and the bars are too wide for me, I did adapt to it and just kind of did some damage control and got a helmet cam video, got a GoPro video, or chest cam. Give you an idea of kind of how I feel, what goes through my head while I'm on the bike. And to kind of sum it all up, I haven't spent enough time on it. I haven't spent enough time any time in my setup, how I would set it up, but it's promising. This thing is a sled. It's composed, it's calm, it absolutely plows through everything. It doesn't get overwhelmed, it doesn't feel like I'm anywhere near the limit of it. It doesn't feel like, oh, I should play with the setup more because it's got a real tight window of where it's going to feel good. For all I know, I've got this shock set up terribly and it's still confidence inspiring. It's still fast, it still mows over the bumps when you're coming through into rough stuff. It's not like the bumps disappear and you don't feel them. You just sit in your position, or not sit, but you squat into your position, mow through the rough stuff, and it literally just charges. It doesn't bounce, it doesn't buck, it doesn't do anything stupid. It feels like a race bike. It feels like, I don't think I've ridden a bike that feels this capable before. Maybe a downhill bike, maybe it's kind of on par with a downhill bike, a little bit less, but it's an absolute plow. I don't have a lot to say about it yet because I haven't spent enough time on it, and I really don't want to. I don't want to be out of place talking about it because if I have my cockpit set up how I want it, I can ride it exactly how I want it. This cockpit, I'm kind of tiptoeing a little bit, and I'm being careful because I'm at full stretch and my arms are at full width, full stretch, trying to counteract things and trying to rip it down the trail. So I'm going to retest this bike. I'm going to try and retest this bike if Rushy's good with it, with a different cockpit setup, set more to me, same size frame, and we're really going to see what this thing's worth because it's super promising. It is super promising. If this was like, it doesn't feel that good, I wouldn't bother with that. I'd give my honest opinion and just leave it at that. You know, have a day and a bit riding on it, whatnot. But I really like this bike, and I want to give it the review that I guess it deserves. I want to try and be more objective with it and spend some quality time on it. So I'll change it. We'll get that sorted out in the details. But also these wheels. So he's running carbon wheels, and these are actually his branded wheels. So they're Rush DH competition wheels. Haven't spent a lot of time on carbon wheels. The time I have spent hasn't been good experiences. I've broken a couple. Now, it actually feels quite good to have a stiff, direct wheel underneath me. Tyres I'm kind of used to. We've got a DHF on the back in the double down. And the shorty, I don't really know the shorty, but I got familiar with it today. It's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. No good on the hard pack stuff, but on this looser stuff, yeah, it's good. It's not bad. It feels similar to a high roller too on the loose stuff. So the carbon wheels, they weren't too stiff, they weren't deflecting me anywhere. They just felt really, really good. They feel really fast, like sprightly. There's not a lot of weight there, obviously, so I'm guessing, and I don't know yet, but I'm guessing these wheels are pretty good. Can't speak to durability, and I don't really have much to compare them to with carbon wheels, but they're definitely not as bad as I thought it was going to be. From my experience, the last carbon wheels I rode on, which were Envies, it felt really, really feedbacky, and there was no room for error and no room for the wheel to deflect and deal with things on the trail. So I didn't really get that same feeling, but I'd have to spend more time on them and see what they're really all about. But so far so good. This bike gets definitely a tick of approval, and hopefully I can give you a better review and a better idea of what it actually does overall after riding it with my cockpit setup. So stay tuned, we'll continue that later. Thank you very much to Rushy. He reached out to me and said, look, if you want to demo my bike, you're more than welcome. And excellent, like, yeah, just super gracious for that. And yeah, I can't say enough about it. If you like these things, maybe get in contact with him. If you're on the fence, just hang off. Let me spend some more time on it, give you a better idea of how I feel about it. But for now, riding a rough trail, a fast downhill trail, this thing has no problems at all. It just wants to go faster. I couldn't go faster because I don't have trust in the wide bar and how much I'm stretched. If something goes wrong, I need to be able to move. So let's ignore that for now and just say, yeah, it gets my tick of approval for sure.